Hello, Money Queens and listeners. Welcome to Women Behind the Millions. Let's meet the women behind the millionaires, the women supporting, guiding, celebrating women with their wealth. You will hear from women millionaires, how they got there, what they wish they had known, what got them to be a millionaire, the emotional side, the spiritual side, the practical side of wealth. You'll also get to meet the women behind the scenes helping make it happen. Let's dive into Women Behind the Millions. I am Jessica Weaver, your host, best-selling author of 3 books, wealth advisor, and founder of the Women's Wealth Boutique. Let's start meeting the women. Hello, it's Jessica Weaver, your host of Women Behind the Millions, and we are in our season of Beyond the Broker, one of our newest books here at Pink Fix Productions. You can see my pink trucker hat there. Beyond the Broker is all about women gaining their freedom, their independence in the financial industry, but it applies to any industry, anywhere where you feel really trapped, boxed in, that you have to trade who you are in order for that paycheck, in order for that role. And we are helping women move away from that, breaking free of that box, shattering that glass ceiling, that kind of invisible line that keeping them stuck, and how they can really find their own independence there. And we have with us tonight one of our co-authors of Beyond the Broker. And she starts her chapter with this quote, and I love this quote. The secret of happiness is freedom. The secret of freedom is courage. Courage. And I'm going to butcher this name. This is from a Greek historian, Luciolides, maybe, from 460 BC. And that's a long time ago, very long time ago. And that even back then they knew that it's that courage. And I meet with female advisors all the time, all week long, coming to me. And I was just on with one, and she was like, I'm daydreaming about going independent. I can't do it right now, but it is part of my daily daydream. You're driving to work and you're not happy where I'm going. Stuffy suit. We've had quite a few women from that corporate financial industry work or from the bank, and they always talk about, right, it's the black or navy suit, sometimes brown or tan if you're feeling a little crazy, the blazer, the heels. And now to work, I wear a lot of times some sparkly sneakers. I will rock a great pair of platform sneakers and having a lot of fun, obviously a lot of pink too with it. But it never feels like the right time to make that switch. And never feels this, and it's never going to be the right time. It's never going to be ideal when you make that change. I mean, when I left my father's firm almost 3 years ago now, I remember it was right after COVID. I had my second child. My husband's a first responder, and I was trying to put all these different pieces together, and it was really trying. And there were so many reasons that I could have just stayed and, put that dream on pause, put it on the back burner, on the shelf. And would I have gotten to it? Maybe, who knows? But then life happens and you get too busy. And then a few years later, I'm still not happy where I am. And we see this happen a lot with women. It's a lot of times they're coming from a toxic environment too. And they feel like a battered wife. They feel like they've been through the ringer. And they might see some opportunities out there. And a lot of the recruiters who have been on the show and are part of Beyond the Broker say, they see these opportunities and they let their current employer know that they're leaving. And then that current employer dangles some fruit in front of them and say, we'll do this X, Y, and Z if you stay. And it breaks your heart because those end up being empty promises. Because really, are they going to change? No, they're not going to change. So taking the courage, having the courage to kind of jump off of that cliff is huge. And I'm so grateful that our guest tonight started her chapter that way, because it is that reminder of it's never going to be the best time, but you have to take that leap at some point if you want true freedom, if you want true independence. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest tonight. Her name is Susan Danzig, and she has over 20 years of working with financial services professionals. She helps her clients clarify their true value, define their specialization, and create marketing strategies that drive new ideal clients into their business. As a result, her clients consistently experience greater income and ongoing success. And Susan, also a past member of the board of directors of the Financial Planning Association. 20 plus years of experience, a wealth of knowledge. Cannot wait. Let's bring on Susan Danzig. Welcome, Susan, to the show Women Behind the Millions. How are you doing tonight?
Hello, Jessica. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be on your show this evening.
Thank you so much for joining us. What was it like contributing a chapter, being one of our featured authors of Beyond the Broker?
It was fabulous. For one thing, it was my first group book experience as an author. And we had an editor, we had people who've been in this space before, creating the books as co-authors with a team of professionals writing the books. And it was like having herders, those dogs that herd, the sheep dogs.
Sheepdogs, yeah.
The animals there. It was a little bit like that, just as you were, because as you were talking about the courage to go independent and all the things that come up in advisors' minds as they're thinking about now may not be the right time. Just in the same way as we're writing the book, all kinds of things come up in life. And it's like, how am I going to get this done? Is this right timing? All of this. However, with the team approach, it was really awesome to participate and really see everybody's chapter come together and be well supported and having my own chapter come together.
Yes, it is a lot of corralling, I will say, sticking to deadlines. And it's really neat to see women from different aspects of the industry coming together to build this roadmap for women who are striving and hopefully getting the courage reading this book and watching these interviews, because so many of you women, yourself included, you've left some sort of employee role, corporate, to launch your own business. So you've been through it yourself, just a little bit different aspect of it. Let's talk about, where did you start in the industry, Susan? Because it's not where you are today. I think we forget that too. 20 years of building a career get you to where you are now. So many times we look from a side perspective of like, oh, I want all that right now. What was it like for you when you started in the industry?
You are absolutely right. What people say about me is that I tend to be an optimist, which has me think that everything's going to move just in sync and smoothly and quickly, right? And it took a little bit longer than that. So where I started, I was actually a business coach working for a financial services marketing firm. And I worked as a business coach for them for 3 years until the market tanked in 2007-8 period. And then my full-time gig quickly went to a part-time gig, and pretty soon it was, not happening. And so at that point, I was given permission by the owner of the company to work with any of my past clients and continue on if I wanted to start my own business. And so by that point, I was really clear and confident about how to work with financial advisors and help them on their path to, generating and refining their personal brand within any corporate brand, and really attracting their ideal clients and setting up marketing strategies to support them with the results that they were truly looking for. So I took the leap. And I was happy to see that the clients that I had been working with, they easily continued with a new contract with my own business at the same rate. Quite a few of them asked, hey, since you're starting your own firm, they were wanting to see if they could get a better price. However, given my experience in working with them and knowing the value that I was really bringing to the table for them, I held strong, and I continued with the same pricing and was able to fill my book of business that way. So I had a win pretty soon out of the gate.
Oh, that's incredible. Do you think you need to be an optimist to be an entrepreneur or to take that leap? You said that you just naturally, you're a very positive person. I feel the same way. And then my husband's kind of that devil's advocate. He's like, I view him as a protector. Do you think to be an entrepreneur, you need to be an optimist?
My initial response is a yes. And then I would imagine there are people out there who are entrepreneurs who are not optimists, and they would have a different approach. However, for me and how my brain functions, without the optimism and the ability to see my vision coming to fruition, and more effortlessly than oftentimes it actually takes, that gives me the courage, the tenacity, and the ability to jump in and take action consistently as I support my clients with, which supports the results ultimately. However, for myself, if I did not have that optimism, I probably wouldn't be an entrepreneur.
You brought up a few points. I love the word tenacity. And you're right. I've been talking with my daughter. She's been playing basketball, but this is her first year where she's in games. And she's a good player, but you need that tenacity, right? You need that drive. And that's not a skill that I can teach. Like that has to come from within that you really want this. Or two. And another point that you bring up, and I'm curious too, I feel a lot of entrepreneurs, they have to be a visionary. They have to be able to see things laid out before they're actually happening. And as you said, usually a lot smoother than what it really is. And I've said before, thank goodness God does not tell us how hard it is going to be when we're about to leave a relationship, start our own firm, get pregnant and have kids, right? Because if we knew that, we probably wouldn't have taken that step either. So one
Exactly.
makes me feel better that you're wired similarly. That is not just me. Another point in your chapter, another great term you say is flashpoint. What does flashpoint mean?
Flashpoint. What that means to me is that period in your life, wherever it is, where something happens and you decide to do something different. And for me, it was when the market tanked in the 07-08 period, and I saw the results tumbling within that firm I was working for. And then I also had the confidence and the courage at that point, based upon I had worked with upwards of 400 financial advisors by that point. So I had significant confidence that I could produce the same result in my clients. I could support them in achieving the goals that they were looking for. I could get them on track with their branding and marketing strategies and get them in action. And what I learned over time in working with those folks too was a big piece about the mindset. And as human beings, typically before we become 10 years old, we create a limiting belief based on whatever that was that happened. And usually we carry that limiting belief forward until we're adults and into our professional career, until at some point we have the opportunity to eliminate that limiting belief or significantly minimize it. And so with seeing these limiting beliefs pop up with my clients, especially during the period when the market tanked, I did some studying and determined that I wanted to become a Master Certified NLP Practitioner, and that stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is really the study of how our brains work. And so with that toolkit in hand, I'm able to support people in minimizing their limiting beliefs or eliminating them pretty quickly in 1 or 2 sessions. And with the process I learned, I was able to support myself in overcoming any potential fears that I had that were coming up along my path as well.
So you were doing the work to yourself along with the advisors that you're working with. Oh, I am fascinated by this already. I love the NLP work. Forward to even just changing flashpoint, because so many times we hear it's like your rock bottom or your pivot point, but flashpoint, it's like that change of energy, that shock to your system that you need to do. I could even see it being used in a meeting, right? It's going one way, we need to shake things up. You hit that quick flashpoint and on to the next.
Absolutely.
That shake up that you need so many times. So what did you find as you're doing the NLP work with your advisors? Were they open to it and receptive to the work?
It's funny you say that. Many of them, I would say 90% of them were open to it. And I remember I had one advisor who is from New York, and he's like, that's a California thing. I'm not going to do that with you. It's like, okay, everything is always an option, right? However, for those who were open to it, I found that for the most part, in one session, I could make a huge difference in how they were going to move forward in their businesses and with the ability to create results. Recently, I had a half-day VIP with a new client out in Colorado, and one of the things that came up for us to address during that session was some work around a limiting belief that he had picked up when he was a kid. And since that time, in just a matter of a couple of months, he has had several opportunities that came up where he was able to take a stronger, more confident stand. And he said, this is exactly in alignment with what the limiting belief you helped me get beyond. So it can really support people in creating results really quickly.
That's amazing. And you hear people saying, well, it's not my mindset. I just need more prospects coming in, right? I just need to fill my pipeline. But changing your mind, changing that structure, changes how you show up, changes your energy, draws more people to you, right? And then the confidence starts to skyrocket. So it's just like refueling that belief, that new belief, and building it. And it's that momentum. Because I don't know, to me, you have to feel that you are the best when you enter a room, right? You are the best in that profession. And if there are things that are pulling you back from feeling the best, you're going to show up less and less. And then you're going to get rejected, and that's going to reaffirm that belief. So thank you for doing this work, because we guide people with their money. We need to show confidently, not cocky, but confidently in that, to help them build.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's my pleasure. And, you say, we want lots of prospects coming in the door, and it takes a lot of energy to generate the prospects. It starts from your first conversation with them, and then you're having a prospect meeting with them, and then you're learning all about them. And if you're not confident in onboarding that client or in your ability to serve that client, then the likelihood of you onboarding the client is dramatically reduced. So if you are experiencing any of that, I recommend that you get some support quickly with regard to empowering your mindset.
Yes. And this doesn't just have to be for advisors. If you are an advisor, reach out to Susan. She's got you. If you're not an advisor, there is so much support and help out there, as this is becoming a bigger notion. It's not just a California thing anymore. It's a global thing. We all are learning so much more about our mind. So much happens in the subconscious. Really amazing work. You have a lot of systems and processes that you use with your clients, with your advisors. You talk about in your chapter your why for independence. You talk about the motivation and the vision of it. Talk to me about how do you get people to just start? Do they come to you initially when they're thinking about going independent? When do you start working with them, Susan? Is it after they're independent?
I work with them in pretty much in every time frame they could be in. It's actually rare that people, before they pivot, get everything in place. Oftentimes it's something that they're thinking about as they're pivoting, and as somebody's asking them questions such as, who are the ideal clients that you like to serve? For somebody who hasn't narrowed their niche yet, or is working with all kinds of people and all kinds of different levels of assets, that's actually one model. However, if, for instance, you want to work with women entrepreneurs, and you've been working with women entrepreneurs, for the last 5 to 10 years, or even the last few years, and you have your communication strategy in place, you have your brand strategy in place, you have your business systems in place to serve women entrepreneurs, then it'll be a more natural fit for you to be attractive to, let's say, a registered investment advisory firm that specializes in serving women or women entrepreneurs. or for the possibility of merging with another advisor as you're stepping into independence, where perhaps you're both serving women entrepreneurs. That's an example. Oftentimes, when I've been working with people for a short period of time, usually the brand is the first place we start, because they come to me because they want to grow. How do they grow? We first determine who their ideal client profile is so that we know who they want to attract. And then we fine tune the brand so that they're in the strongest position possible from a communication strategy, as well as other marketing strategies to attract that ideal client.
Okay. Yes, it seems you're very heavy on the brand, which I love. And I think that's the heartbeat of any business is the brand. That's what everybody sees is the experience, the energy, the feelings, the emotions that you put out there as well for it too. And you give a great example of somebody finding their ideal client, getting very clear on it, and they have huge success. Can you tell us a little bit about what transpired during that work together?
Yes, I'm thinking about a woman that I have been working with for a little over a year, and we actually met at the Exit Planning Institute Summit, which is their conference, and it is an organization that focuses on training advisors, and about 60% of their membership are financial advisors. So this association focuses on training advisors how to work with business owners, or how to help business owners in different ways exit their business. Whether it's growing at first, scaling before exit, but helping the business owner think through when they want to exit, what do they need to get in place to exit, and how that's going to happen, what their best options are. And so I met this advisor there, and she had been thinking for a while actually about focusing on business owners and women business owners in particular. However, she hadn't gotten her brand message in place. She hadn't gotten any of her systems in place. It was simply a thought about focusing on business owners at this point. And while she had a few business owner clients, it wasn't the majority of her book of business. And so we went to work together and, helped her refine her brand, and then helped her get her marketing strategy in place with a 90-day marketing plan so that she knew exactly which marketing channels or areas that she was going to use to attract her ideal clients. And then we worked on fine-tuning the sales process. And then lo and behold, within the last 3 months, she reached out to me, and we had mentioned the possibility of her switching firms because there were some challenges going in-house that were not getting resolved over the whole time that I had known her. And they seemed that the environment was becoming more and more challenging all the time. And so she reached out to me at the end of the year and she said, okay, I'm ready to pivot. And so at that point, I also have a side of my business that's focused on the M&A and the helping the advisors pivot to independence and exit planning ultimately. I reached out with my cohort in-house, and together we were able to get her some interviews set up. And at this point, so far, she's very excited about multiple opportunities and looking forward to pivoting in the next quarter.
Wow, that's incredible. And the power of networking for you going to those is all about how you show up and where you're showing up, and being proactively engaged with people when you're there too. Meeting somebody at the conference and completely changing her life. I mean, that's a huge transformation. The growth, and then being able, that probably gave her the confidence, the courage to embrace the freedom, the independence, and getting clear on who she loves to work with is not going to be where she currently is not the right home for who she wants to work with, her clients.
Exactly. Exactly. And for others, it's once they're pivoting, they realize that they need to get their communication strategy in place, because it's a critical time for advisors to be able to retain clients. And so it's critical that they're able to communicate effectively why they're moving, what's going to be better for the client, and how the client is going to greatly benefit from the situation. And as a result, when they get those pieces in place and they're able to articulate it effectively, and not only them, but if they have a team supporting them, we want everybody to be singing the same tune, so that when the receptionist answers the phone, when the client services professional is working with the client, as well as the advisor, so that they're all singing the same tune or leading with the same communication strategy as to the benefit for the client, the enthusiasm for making the move, to support the client in making the move comfortably and smoothly.
Yes. And as long as you're client focused for the reasons why you're moving, right, which is usually most of the time, better services, more opportunities, investments, freedom, I call open architecture, maybe, so that you
Yes.
get to do your due diligence to pick the right vendors, technology. And it's easy to put that together. But if you're not client focused for your reason why, that might be a little bit more challenging to articulate to the clients as well. I'm guessing a lot of the people that you're working with, the advisors you work with, Susan, they are focused on their clients and doing right by them.
Oh, they are. Yes.
Communities.
Yes. In fact, all of them are. The people that I serve are committed, number one, to their clients, and they want to create a win-win. However, they're committed, number one, to their clients and what's best for them.
Yes. Yes. Great point. A win-win, right? Usually beneficial for it. And I talked a little bit, I know we started with the branding. You have your uniquely branded system. Can we go into what that entails, what that process looks like?
Let's do it. Yes. Because as you can tell, I get a little bit excited about all this.
I love when people get excited on the show, Susan.
Okay, so your uniquely branded system, there are 4 aspects to it. And the first part is really determining your brand, who your ideal client is, what that ideal client profile looks like, and including what they do for a living, their net worth, all the details about them, okay? And then the next step is your area of specialization as it pertains to that ideal client that you're looking to attract. Meaning, do you lead with financial planning? Are you a CFP? Do you lead with investment management? Or are you focused on the business owners, and are you looking at financial or investment management and succession planning for business owners, that type of thing? And so, number 1, ideal client profile. Number 2, area of specialization. And then, as I led into just now, is your slogan, which is what you do and for whom. And for instance, mine is business development firm for financial services professionals. And so it's really clear what it is you do. And where this can come in handy is, when you're networking and somebody says, what do? You don't want to start out with your 30-second commercial, because they may not want to hear all that. And believe it or not, you can lose people in the first 30 seconds if they're not that interested in what you're saying. But if you say, for instance, I am a financial advisor working with entrepreneurial women, that's really clear, especially if you're, for instance, at an association meeting where there are women business owners. So the slogan is something that you want to get in place. And then the last piece is incorporating the ideal client profile, the area of specialization, your slogan and marketing messages into your menu of services as well. So that when you have all of that laid out for your client meeting, for your prospect meeting, then it's really easier for you, the advisor, to walk your prospects through every step of how you're going to support them and how that's going to look and how you're going to help them reach their goals. Also, it can make it much simpler for you in the process of having that prospect meeting, because it can support you with staying on track with that conversation.
Yes. Thank you for detailing it. So the 4 steps, all very important, easy to articulate then too, when you get hyper-focused on that. In the chapter, Susan, you talk about becoming the go-to expert. Why is it important for them to become the go-to expert?
in your heart of hearts, you want to be able to confidently get their attention. And also, you want to be able to confidently speak to who you are, how you stand out in the industry, and why you're the perfect solution to serve them, who is your ideal client.
Yes. Similar as we were talking to all of the authors of the book and all of our books at Pink Fix Productions, right? What's going to grab the attention of the audience? Why should they trust you? Why should they be reading what you have to say? Why should they pay attention? And part of, right, give them your accolades. Give them like, why are you good at this? What's the research you've done? The years of experience. Susan's been in the industry for 20 plus years. I'm going to pay attention and listen to what she has to say because the industry's changed a lot too. Always curious to see, what worked back then. How have people have to pivot? Who's embraced change? Who hasn't embraced change? All of that to me is fascinating. For Susan, talk about being in the industry for 20 years. Where do you see it going in the next 5 to 10 years?
When I first started in the industry over 20 years ago, working with financial advisors, I didn't hear about people starting their own registered investment advisory firms or becoming independent. While I was working with some independent advisors at the time, there wasn't the momentum that I'm seeing now in the industry for people to look at the possibility of going independent. And so what I'm seeing going forward from here is that the momentum is only going to build, because one of the biggest fears for people, about to go independent from a broker dealer that I've seen is that they're afraid that their clients are not going to follow them, or their best clients aren't going to follow them. And what I see in my experience of watching and experiencing people make the pivot is that typically 85 to 95, and sometimes even a higher percentage of their clients move with them. So it's an opportunity to really keep those clients that you most want to serve. It's also an opportunity to true up your book of business, and you might not want to transition all of your clients. However, it's an opportunity to create your ideal business. And what I see in terms of the future is that reality is becoming easier over time, because there are so many independent options where it's easier for advisors to make the transition, and there are teams supporting the transition so that it's easier for folks too.
Yes, more seamless, more smooth. Technology is a huge help with that as well. How about the difference with, you think of the name recognition? That was very big a few years ago, several years ago, being with those big, well-recognized names. They have ads on TV and whatnot. Do you think that's less of a priority for clients now as we're shifting into more of the independent space?
That is a great question, because that question does come up all the time, and advisors tend to think it's the larger firm name that attracts some of the clients. And while that can create some credibility, because with all the advertising, we've heard the name of the large firms. However, except for maybe a couple of firms out there who serve the truly high net worth, oftentimes, and even for those people, the client is more attached and has more of a connection factor with the advisor than with the firm at large. So for most of your ideal clients, at least, they're going to be more than willing to follow you where you're going for their benefit, and they're happy to have you have a win too for a better experience. So that's what I'm seeing.
I would agree with that, Susan. Right? It's the relationship with that individual advisor or their team versus with the institution. They don't know anything about the institution besides everybody knows the name. They care more about that person for it. And to emphasize that as the advisor throughout that relationship with the client, you work with me and my team, right? We are here to serve you, is really good.
Yeah, because then as you make the transition, that same message, we're going to be here to serve you as we always have, and we're looking forward to serving you, in this new firm, it really carries it forward with regard to the level of service that you've already provided and the level of connection that you already have with them.
Yes. Yes. And the advisor, they have time to make this decision, whereas the clients, they don't. So when you constantly reassure them that you are here, you always are going to be here for them, that can do a lot of help during that transition time, because it can be overwhelming. It can be scary for clients. So the more you can nurture that relationship ahead of time, it's huge, Susan. Huge. All right, one more topic before we take our break. If you're good, you talk about digital and direct marketing. And we're talking a lot about branding and marketing, which is so important because especially my area, New Jersey, New York, there's a lot of advisors. It's very highly concentrated. You need to stand out. You need to embrace what makes you unique, and you need to be proactively going out there to getting your name for it. So tell us the difference between direct and digital marketing.
Okay, so direct would be the old-fashioned in the mail, invitations to events. Anything that you're putting in the mail. It might be about something new that you're offering them, but anything that would be in the mail, that's direct mail. And then digital would be everything online. So you're talking about your website, you're talking about your LinkedIn, and all of your other social media, whichever social media you're able to use, given where you're currently based with your business. However, definitely LinkedIn is one of the options. And as I mentioned, the branding piece earlier, in your profile on LinkedIn, perhaps, or in any other digital marketing profiles, that's where you can really look to refine who you are, how you stand out, and who you serve. Also, there are some formal networking groups out there, and some of those formal networking groups have a digital profile opportunity for you. So the more that you can get everything refined, with regard to your brand and your services and how to communicate that, and you communicate that both, through the mailings and also the birthday cards, anniversary cards, all of those nurturing ways where you can give somebody, a little more connection with a card versus an email. That can be a good way to go with a direct mail, whereas the digital marketing is just keeping everything in sync. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes. And do you think having a healthy balance of both is good?
Absolutely. Yes.
How about the advisors? I'm strictly virtual, right? I have no office. I'm all online. Is that okay in today's world? Or it depends on their target audience, their niche?
It does depend on who they're serving. Many, many, many advisors are, for the most part, virtual now. The pandemic, clearly COVID was a challenge. However, the upside was we were all forced to use, online options. Here we are today, right? And also Zoom. I know for myself, I actually was paying for Zoom prior to the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit, I started having Zoom meetings with everybody. And I do that today.
Yeah, it is nice to have that option. And I find that I work less evenings because people can squeeze me in at work during lunch hours or in between meetings or whatnot. And they like it more, just having that option. Sometimes I want to come in, let's sit down, we'll bring lunch in, something like that. But yes, I find it, and people cancel less. So they show up more, you're more efficient, you can get things done as well. This has been fantastic, Susan.
My pleasure. I've enjoyed the opportunity to be here with you this evening.
You have a great voice. All right, we're going to show you a little bit about Beyond the Broker, the book, and then we have a few more questions for Susan.
If you're like many independent financial advisors that I've had a chance to talk to, going independent sounds more nuanced and problematic. Have you ever wondered what it really takes to break free from the traditional broker model and go independent as a financial advisor? My name is Camille Roberson, and I'm the founder of Atlas Park Consulting. I'm thrilled to introduce you to Beyond the Broker, Navigating Financial Advisory Independence. In this book, We've assembled top experts, myself included, to guide you from dreaming about independence to actually making it happen. We break down different RIA models, share compliance tips, and walk you through building or joining a successful independent practice. If you're ready to define success on your own terms, Beyond the Broker is your roadmap. Grab your copy now and start taking control of your future as an independent financial advisor. Get your copy today.
All right, we are back with Susan Danzig here on Women Behind the Millions, and we are at the point of the show. We're going to ask her a few questions. The first one is, what is your Beyond the Broker tip, strategy? What would you tell women who are teasing with the idea, daydreaming of the idea of going independent?
I would say daydream and tease the idea out bigger. Just really allow yourself to dream about what would be possible for you and for your clients if you were to go independent. And if that vision inspires you, jump, take the leap.
Jump, meditate on it, take it to your prayers if you need to, whatever it is. We've had one woman on the show, Jen Jabrier, and she gave this tip of how can it go bigger. So you just reminded me of that tip of what's that daydream and how can you make it bigger, right? How can you make it even bigger stage, an even bigger platform? Don't see where you can grow into, right? If you see your vision, is it where you are today? Or is it that flashpoint, that pivot, go independent? Can you see it being even bigger? I've also found, I don't know about you, Susan, and maybe with some of your clients and advisors that you work with, that some people, they might not be able to visualize it mentally. So there might be another way for them to paint a picture of it. Maybe it's to write it down. Maybe it's for them to actually draw it out, speak it out loud versus just internally. You seem like similar to me where you can see so many different pathways for somebody when you first meet them. You can see exactly where they're going to blossom and grow. They can't see it for themselves, or you have to almost get it out of them little by little. What do you think?
Well, yes. For some people, you're right. Visionaries, easy to just see the vision, see the picture of being there. And for other people, it can be helpful to talk it through. So feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to talk with you about your dream and what it would look like to unfold and what it would mean for you and your family and what it might mean for your clients as well, of course. And then the other thing that I want to say in terms of a tip, with all of the advisors I've spoken with who are interested in going independent and who do make the pivot, one of the things they always say is, I wish I would have done this sooner. So with that in mind, there's a very good likelihood that down the road, you will have wished you too did this sooner. However, what you can start doing today, even if you're not ready to pivot, is you want to get all your ducks in line. You want to get everything in place. You want to determine who you want to serve, how you want to serve them, how you're going to communicate that. You want to determine what would be the dream firm to merge with, or if you want to create your own RIA, have a conversation with an attorney. Start thinking through how all of this will look as you're continuing on in your current role. Don't worry about that. However, all of this information, for some people, they need all of the information, and it's helpful to get all this information in place prior anyway. However, having it in place will give you more confidence in seeing how it's going to happen and knowing how it's going to happen and getting coaching beforehand on how to make it happen. And all of that will support you on your path.
Yes. And that was our goal with this book, Beyond the Broker, is to have a team, not just a blueprint, but a team of professionals who've helped hundreds, probably if you count everyone together, thousands of women make it through this transition, and men make it through this transition as well. And you're so right when you say, I wish I had done this sooner. When I think of the opportunities that have come my way because of the switch and launching our own RA, it blows my mind. And I hear it for women too. Now's not a good time. Maybe my kids are a little older. But then your book's also bigger. and you have more clients to transition over, and it's a bigger undertaking. There's never going to be that perfect moment where everything's going to halt. You have calm at home, calm at work. We're going to migrate over. But I would encourage you, my tip would be think beyond just that transition to what your life could be like. Daydream about that. Don't get hung up on the transition. People do it every day. Every single day, I'm sure there's an advisor transitioning. It happens all the time. We've helped several women transition over. You will get through it. Don't get hung up on that. Think beyond the broker. Think beyond the transition for it as well. How about, Susan, the trend that you're noticing in the industry? We talked earlier in the show about the migration to independence, not being so hung up on the name brands in the industry, but more, what is that relationship like with your advisor? What other trends are you noticing? How is AI impacting the industry from your perspective?
AI is impacting the industry in a number of ways. It can ease the communication strategy with your admins. They can use it for emails, to fine-tune emails. You can use it with your marketing strategies. You can use it to fine-tune your systems so that you're freeing up some of your time. So there's a lot of ways that AI is currently available to you. And from what I'm seeing, it's only going to expand. You asked me one of the trends that I'm seeing. When advisors have slim to none of their systems in place to make the pivot to independence, this situation creates trepidation for some. And for others, the lack of understanding gives them false sense of confidence.
Ooh, two big ones. And you think of the transition, your office support staff, your team, they're doing the brunt of the work. So when you lack those systems, you're really putting a huge burden on them. It's almost like long-term care planning, right? When you don't do long-term care planning for yourself, you're putting it on your family to figure it out too. So getting those in place, huge advice. That is fantastic, Susan.
Well, and that's also a perfect example, because unfortunately, when we don't get our long-term care situation in place, oftentimes something happens and then we're forced to do it immediately. And you may or may not have your dream destination happen if you're forced to do it immediately. And what I see oftentimes with folks pivoting is they want their experience to become more challenging, or they require it to become more challenging before they finally pivot. And usually it's a flashpoint that's a bit painful, and then they go, okay, I'm out of here. And so just something to think about. If you think it all through in advance, if that flashpoint happens, you're prepared. However, if you think it all through in advance, that also might give you the courage to take the leap before it gets painful.
Yeah, it's like we get our clients to retirement, right? We do the plan, we test the plan, we get them to it smoothly. Same thing, right? With the transition into your independence, your retirement, right? That freedom for it too. Very good. That would give you the courage. It does make you feel better. Whatever peace of mind you can get going into it. Yes, things can happen and shake things up, but you have that backup plan in place for it. Beautiful, Susan. All right. We have one more question for you as we're wrapping up our show tonight.
What makes you a woman behind the millions?
What makes you a woman behind the millions, Susan?
Well, my big why for being a coach in this space is really to empower advisors with their systems and strategies to be in a strong position to create the business that they've envisioned and monetize their experience and all their hard work, for a successful journey forward. And so that's what I'm committed to supporting women with.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for doing it. Thank you for doing the NLP work. I'm sure that really makes you different in the industry. You're early on in the industry to doing that and bringing it to us. It's huge work. Thank you for your 20 years in it and really being an advocate for us women as well, Susan. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me at susandanzig.com. That's SUSAN at susandanzig.com. And also, I have a special gift for you. And that is an assessment where you can quickly determine where you're at with about 9 different areas as it relates to your business development systems. You can take this assessment in 4 minutes, and it'll quickly send you a free report so that you can look at the details. You can access the assessment at financialadvisorsuccessquiz.com. That's financialadvisorsuccessquiz.com. And then as well, feel free to schedule a complimentary meeting with me. I would look forward to speaking with any of you about your vision for where you'd like to see you take your practice moving forward.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Susan, for being here, spending some time with us, for being one of our authors at Pink Fix Productions in the new book, Beyond the Broker. We're going to go out with a little bit about our mastermind and gala that's coming up here in May of 2025 in New Jersey. We raise money for our financial scholarship. So all book proceeds from Beyond the Broker, all ticket sales from the gala are being donated to our scholarship for young women who want to study finance, economics, our big push to get more women into the industry and keeping us here too. So thank you for being a huge part of this movement for us, Susan.
It's my pleasure.
All right, Money Queens. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Women Behind the Millions. It has been a pleasure spending so much time with you. We'll see you next week. Get ready, ladies, for an unforgettable night of empowerment, celebration, and community. Join us for the 4th annual Pink Fix Gala on May 14th and 15th here in New Jersey. Experience the magic of bringing together visionary women, leaders, and change makers in an evening dedicated to growth, connection, and leaving an impact. From powerful keynote speakers to exquisite dining and dancing, the Pink Fix Gala is your chance to celebrate your journey and be inspired by others. Don't miss your opportunity to be a part of this life-changing event. Tickets are now on sale, and all ticket sales go towards our Financial Trendsetters Scholarship Award. Visit pinkfixproductions.com to get your tickets today. We can't wait to see you there. Hey, Money Queens, looking to get your wealth to that next level, 7, 8, 9 figures? Follow us on Instagram at PinkFixMyMoney and at Women's Wealth Boutique for more millionaire money tips.